Jaclyn Strominger. What a great conversation with Jaclyn. Really enjoy her energy. She's a leadership coach, and I start right off with mission statements. She's very, very, very big proponent of having a great mission. We talk about what needs to be in it. Do core values become first before the mission? How often should mission be discussed? Should it be changed? If you're an organization, a small or even large, even your own personal self, having a mission is really important. And we really carry that discussion through. She's has a really, really interesting backstory. Went to college, knew she wanted to go into magazine publishing. When she got there, the grass was not greener. She talks about that and what happened there, what made her eventually move to this move where she's trying to help people who are stuck in a career, want to make a change, make a shift, and what can you do to help with that? Very interesting, her story, what she did to make the change, and now how she helps others to make that change. Really great energy. Love talking to Jack. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, in their passion, in their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Disciple Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Jaclyn Strominger, I'm so excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time today. What should be in a mission statement?
What should be in a mission statement? A lot. A mission statement has to embody, first and foremost, your core values as a person and as a company. I mean, if we're talking about a mission statement for a company, that has to be front and center in the mission statement. And the values that you want your company and yourself to embody, that has to be in there. And the other thing that really needs to be in the mission statement is what you want to bring to your customers and to the people that you're serving. So many times there are companies, and I could name one, but I probably shouldn't, that I look at right now that I feel has lost their mission. They know what they do, but what you do is not, and if I'm saying that I'm a coach and I help people, yes, that's it. That can be in my mission. That's what I do. But my mission is to help people succeed and level up and become high achievers and to own their values. That's more than what I do. It's my mission. And so companies need, and what we need to have in our mission statements are the values that we want and what we want the end person to have and what we want to be serving. Not what we do, but what we're serving. That's and every time I think about this, I think of this one company and I'm just like, oh my God, they've lost their mission statement.
Yeah.
They've lost their mission. They know what they do. And they're so focused on the dollar value of like serving, serving, serving. It's not about the dollar value. It's about the emotion that the customer and that you're giving to people and what you're bringing to them.
I could think of several companies, Jacqueline, that fall into that, that fall,
I
you know,
know.
yeah, without much thought. What ends up happening, of course, they have a board of directors, and people want to save their position, and they have to have quarterly, growth. Otherwise, it's catastrophe. So, they lose touch with themselves, and they go after the low hanging fruit.
Yes, right. They go after the low-hanging fruit and they're forgetting that what they're doing is of value to the right people,
Mm,
right? And so when I look at companies and I look at, their mission, y- we have to also remember we're not here to serve everybody. We're
mm,
not. We're here to serve the people that we want that's part of our mission and who we want to be serving. We can't make everybody happy. I'm sorry. We just can't. I mean, we're not I look at commercials on and it's like those are not they're not I'm not their target market if I'm looking at some of the commercials. But who is your market and who do you want to serve? And remember, you're not going to be able to serve every human being on the planet. You're just not.
mm. I always think of one of my favorites, and I forget if it's the Ritz or if it's Four Seasons, but it's ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen.
That's good. Because we need to embody who that person is and who do you identify with. And that has to come out in our mission statement. And I feel one of the things about we're talking about mission statement, when you ask me like what's in it, the one thing I want to remind people too, and is when you write your mission statement, don't write it on a piece of paper and then put it away and or post it on the back of your bulletin board. This is something that needs to be read almost daily.
Right.
And when you start a meeting or when you're presenting, if you're as a company presenting to your company, you've got to read your mission statement. And then it needs to drill down within the companies to the departments and
Mm,
the leaders. And I hate the word manager because manager, I'm like, that's got to be erased from the planet. You can manage. No, we need to lead. We need to lead people. Leading people elevates them. Managing people puts them into buckets, right? So, but when you're leading a team, each team needs to have their own individual mission statement. Yes, it needs to be part of the umbrella of the corporate, but the team needs to have their mission statement. And you almost like need to break it down. And then the person needs to have their mission statement. And I think a lot of times why we end up getting on as individuals, why we go into a company or into our life and we get on that hamster wheel, it's because we've forgotten our mission and
mm,
we haven't read our mission statement and we're not moving towards something. But that mission statement has to be read because it also has to create a sense of like, yes, that's who we are, right? It's
mm.
bring out that power in us to
There's
drive
that.
and to elevate us and to
Mm.
move us.
What comes first, the mission or the core values?
Good question. First and foremost, you need to have your core values down, I believe. We need to look at those values and decide and know who we want to be, or what we want to be, what really resonates with us, and where do we want to grow and where do we want our company to be and ourselves. But your core values needs to be driving that because even in a company or in our as an entrepreneur, you want to be attracting people that have like values of you or what you're putting out. So if you don't know those core values, take a minute or give me a call and I'll give you a core value assessment. It's I think your core values need to come first.
And if you're a small business, I work with a lot of small tech firms. I'm a former one. I still am, actually, if you think about it. But Does the owner need to bring in leadership and employees when making these core values?
That is a It's a great question. I first and foremost, so if you start off as a solopreneur, this is my personal opinion and the way I look at things. You need to know what yours are and what your companies are. And as you're growing, you want to be bringing people in that align with those values and those core values that you have. And as you're growing, I do believe you need, if things are changing and they're growing and you're bringing in the people that you have, it's almost like a check-in. Hey, these are the values that I started this company on. These are the values that I believe. Do we all still align with them? Is
Mm,
this where we are? I think the core values need to be set, and you can bring people in as you grow, but I think the part that needs to be brought in is the mission of the company. Like, you can decide the mission of the company. I mean, you need to obviously know the mission of the company when you start a company. But as you're growing, there's a check-in process. Like, you're the leader and you have that mission and you want to redefine it, but you want to make sure everybody else within your team takes hold of that and it resonates with them. So I guess the answer to that is, you as the leader really need to know the values of your company and your mission. It's not, and remember, mission statements are not set in stone. They
mm,
evolve as your company evolves. And if you pivot on your mission statement, ask, it's like asking your two best friends or asking your top two, in command and saying, "Hey, this is what I've come up with. I know we need to really uh, enhance our mission statement because we're a growing company." Ask them how it resonates with them.
mm,
As you're growing, you want everybody else to be part of it. So you have to have something. You have to make them inclusive, but almost like, "Here's what I've come up with. How does this resonate with you?"
mm. Some might say that if everyone, so we were under, I think I reassessed our core values when we were about 15 to 20 employees, and the thought there was, if they pick them, then they have buy-in because they're the ones who picked them, right? It's not like these were forced on me. We did this together, and so there's certain kind of school of thought there. What do you think about that, Jen?
No, I do believe you need to get buy-in from people. That's why I was saying, like, you need to set them
Mm,
and sort of ask, like, does this resonate with you? And then see where it lands. And if it's not landing, okay, then let's figure this out together.
right.
Because you want people to be able to feel that they're part of it. At some point, though, too, I do believe there is a there's a point where you have there's only so many times you can ask people to get their buy-in, because then it's like too many cooks in the kitchen,
Right,
right?
right.
So as you're building, if you're 5 people, okay, then you can get buy-in. As you get 20 people, you can get buy-in. And then as you get bigger, then then it becomes down to, here's the company, and you've got your leaders, but then the mission statement for the team, people need to buy into the mission of the team
Mhm,
that they're on. So you
mm,
need to bring it down to that, take it down a level, like, basically to the team itself, because people want to be part of something. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I feel like we need to say that we're leading, we're not managing. Everybody needs to be part of the team and be bought into the team. And this to me is really key, is, just because if you have somebody that's on your team and they're not bought into your mission, maybe there's maybe there's another team that they're better suited for. Don't just discount them. Look at the individuals and what their skill sets are and what they want, and maybe they're better on another team.
hmm. And what are some ways, Jacqueline? Like, so what we would do is we'd get these core values, and when we were hiring, we'd say, "Here are our 5 core values. Pick 2 of them, and give an example how you would use them, or you have been using them." So, like you said, not just writing them on a piece of paper, putting them in the back, but what are other ways that companies can really enforce them? I put them up on the wall, use them this way. What are some other ways that they could really enforce them?
I think the biggest thing about the way the companies need to bring them to fruition and have them front and center is I is every time you have a meeting, you read your core values. It's
Mm,
like you're I don't mean to be political when I say this, but it's kind of like what I used to think that we used to do with the Pledge of Allegiance, right?
ah,
Right? So, yes, there's words in there that maybe some people don't like, but but saying and having your mission before each meeting gets people almost grounded and centered
yeah.
as what your mission is. You know, when you start a mission, I mean, so when you start a meeting, I cannot begin to tell you how many times I've been in front of teams and I've reminded them, this is what why we're here together. This is what we're doing. Because then we're focused. It almost like turns the brain on, and hopefully, when you read that mission statement, it does bring out the heart and that charge of something that you're feeling a part of, and that you're connected to.
And it should make debate, right, and decisions easier because, well, this is an easy solution here. What aligns with our core values and mission? That's the way we should go.
I would agree. It does help making those decisions easier, and it also helps keep you focused. So it's not we're not thinking, oh, squirrel, that's a good idea. Oh,
Mm,
shiny object over there. I like that idea. Where is it fitting with our directive and our mission? And I love this directive and mission and what we're looking at individually and company wide, because as you sit down and you make your plan for your week, you need to think about what your mission is and
mm.
what's aligning. What are you doing activities that align with your mission and what you want? But it really helps focus a team in their meetings.
Certainly does. You were one of the fortunate ones, Jacqueline, because in college you realized that you wanted to go in publishing, but when you got there, it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, and you had a bad boss that didn't want to let you move, and things happened there. Tell me about it.
So, yes, when I was in college, I went to a great university and I took a couple different classes. Yes, I was kind of like I'm very right brain, left brain. I'm not either one. I loved macroeconomics and management game. They were like two of my favorite classes. But I also minored in design and I took classes for printing, and I had an internship and I fell in love with uh, consumer marketing because you had to for magazines because you had to analyze and be creative at the same time. So it was
Wow.
kind of like, oh, look at I get to do both, like two parts of my
Mm.
brain. Um, I love magazine publishing. It was great, but as you just said, I had a few bosses and I that didn't really look at what my individual goals were and where I wanted to go. And this is where it was manager. Like they were
Mm.
my manager. Like we were managing the what we needed to do for the publications that I was in and how do we get them. But it wasn't looking at me and where I wanted to go. And I was always looking. I was like, felt like there was something that was missing. I was always looking for this ideal manager, mentor, boss that was going to like take me under their wings and be like, "Okay, we're going to level you up and we're going to create your path and there's where you're going to go." And that never came. So I was always searching for that, and And that is one of the reasons why I became a coach, because we get out of college and we have an idea. We may go into a company, and what you study in college may not be what your end career is. We're always evolving. But I realized, like, I wish back then that I had a me that was sitting on my shoulder saying, "Okay, let's look at what you're doing. What do you need to study? Where do you need to skill up? Where do you want to go? Is this the right thing for you?" And so I was doing it for myself, but every once in a while I would lose sight of my goal.
Mm.
It's almost like having somebody that's right by your side and say, "Okay, what's the eye on the prize? What's the goal?" And not that everything has to be always about moving, but at the same time, we do always need to have goals so that we don't just start doing the same thing over and over again. It's like, it's like fitness, right? You know, if you want to maintain your weight, or you want to, you've lost weight, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, I've been doing all this exercise. Well, you can't just stop. Otherwise, you're going to just go back. You have to always be thinking, okay, well, I need to be pushing myself. If I don't, I'm just going to, I'm not going to, things are just, if things just keep staying the same and I'm going to go back to my old weight, or you have to always be thinking about that, like, what's going to keep moving you and pushing you forward. And it also helps create excitement and gives you challenges, and it gives you things to move towards. So when I was in my magazine publishing days, I didn't have that internally. So I think that's why it's like we need to create leaders, not managers.
Mm.
Get to know the people that are in your company, get to know the people that are, you know, have a tribe around you so that you can be moving forward. And you're not just taking the subway to work and getting off and do like it's like, Groundhog Day.
So, what made you make that change or leap? I mean, many of us would just kind of stay there and just be stuck there because it's a regular paycheck and they've got bills to pay. And so, what if I'm a little miserable? It's still not that bad. It could be worse. But why you? Why did you make the change? What did you have? Why did you do that?
Because I was miserable, and I don't think
Mm,
anybody should ever be miserable. A page to me, for me, a paycheck is not worth not feeling good.
mm,
And if you're getting up every day and you're going into work, it becomes cyclical, right? I that you go into work, and if you're not feeling good about walking in and doing what you're doing, then when you get home, it's going to go there too. You're not going to
mm,
feel great.
mm,
And I just kept seeing that there was something greater, and I love helping people. I would love working with my teams, but the company didn't follow, like, I wasn't aligning anymore with the values of the company. And that was when I realized something has to shift. And one of the biggest things that I think that is really important, you ask, like, what's the question you could share with your, if you could share something with your younger self, it would really be, really make sure you align with the company and their values when you're walking in that door.
mm,
It's not just the company interviewing you. You really have to make sure that the company is doing aligns with your personal mission too.
mm,
And
mm,
look at how they lead. What's the trajectory of the people? Where are they going? Where have they, where have other people gone from within that company? If it's just a bunch of people that want there to push buttons, maybe that's not the right place for you. If all
mm,
you want to do is push buttons, great. But what's your goal? If all you want to do is do your job and collect a paycheck, and if that's rewarding for you, great. But if it's not rewarding for you, I'm not saying go leave your job today and find a new one. No, be where you are. Maybe there's something you can do within the company, or maybe it is time to start looking for something else. And to I would say look at the companies first. And even if they don't have anything open for a position, reach out.
Hmm.
If it's something that you are aligned with within that company, reach out to them.
Hmm.
How awesome
Yeah.
would it be if somebody picked up the phone and called a company and said, I really admire everything that you're doing, and this is my background, and I love to figure out how I might be able to fit into your what you're doing. Is that bad? I don't really think so. Like, what are you going to do to set yourself apart from everybody else? But look for companies based on their values too. Because you could get in there and not like it. You might like the outside pretty picture of what they do, but really dive into what makes them tick and the people that are there.
Hmm. Along with the mission to core values, a culture is developed purposely, maybe not, but we see time and again where people will take less salary for a better culture, right? Where how that's so important, and you mentioned specifically that you had a manager who didn't want you to go to the next level because that person wanted you where they were. They were keeping you stuck. This is an example, obviously, of
Yeah.
poor culture.
Yes. I had this, I was getting really tired. I realized that I personally knew that I did not want to sit behind a desk and that I wanted to be out. And I thought, and my parents were in sales
That's right.
or had been in sales. And I learned a lot of great things from both of them. And they, oddly enough, worked well together. They had a business together. Don't really necessarily recommend people working together with their spouses.
Mm.
That's a whole other topic. Um, but I wanted to get my hand into sales, and he was like, "No." And so I kept thinking, "You've got to be kidding me! Like, why are you hindering my what I want to do?"
Your growth, yeah.
And what I want, like, the only way for me to grow and is to learn more. So where am I going to learn? If I'm not going growing where I am now and I'm kind of bored, where do I go? So I ended up leaving. And they lost a very valuable person. And the interesting thing is I learned the lesson, and then when you get into a company too that doesn't value you,
Mm.
it really it creates a very negative amount of energy of how you want to operate. And so again, that negative energy then trickles into other things that you're doing. And this is where, if I could wave my magic wand and I could help the corporate culture of every company, and I could help them with their mission and help them with their core values and really help them understand the people that are there, we have so many more happy people, and that happy people would spread out to everybody else that they come encounter with. It's like it's if you're happy about walking into work, then if you're getting a cup of coffee, you're going to smile, or you're going to, and it's better to smile than be grouchy, because then the person that you're smiling to behind the counter who's making your cup of coffee, they're going to smile at the next person.
Mm.
Smiling is contagious. Frowning's not.
Hmm.
So if I can, to me, it's like, ooh, let me wave my magic wand. And
Let's talk more about managers versus leaders. I've had managers that considered themselves leaders, but they were not. So let's just talk about what's the difference between a leader and a manager.
it's a good question, right? So actually, to me, the big difference between a manager and a leader is a manager is task oriented.
Mm.
They're there to do specific jobs, you know, do this analysis, do this marketing
Metrics.
plan,
Yes.
their metrics. Leaders will say, okay, let's look at our mission as our team or your mission as a person within the company. And let's look at what our end goal is and the job that you need to do. And how can I help you? How can this job that you need to do help elevate you? They're leading the person through something and to something. Managers just focus on the task at hand or on what the person's doing, or they're
Mm.
managing the day to day. Leaders help elevate people and level them up. I always
Mm.
liked, Dale Carnegie always said, you want to hire people who are smarter than you so they can take your job. Why do you
Mm.
want them to take your job? So you can move up and,
Right.
you know, keep that cycle going. Leaders find people and help them grow. Managers manage the day to day. They're not. We don't want to manage people. It's like managing a herd, right? You're telling the herd which way to go. No, lead the people and help them find their path. Or maybe as a leader, you're going to discover something and see something in somebody that maybe they don't see themselves, and you're going to be able to bring that out.
Hmm.
And a manager might think that they're being a good leader, but I would say, okay, well, when was the last time you met individually with the people on your team? And please do not tell me once a year.
Mm.
There was I had a conversation with a gentleman. He's in Australia, and we were talking about this one CEO of a company, and he said the CEO of the company would go and sit at a cafe on Tuesday morning, and his employees would go into this cafe, and he literally would sit and talk with every single one of them that came in. He would say, reach out and say hello, hey, have a 10-minute chat, know the people, and he would learn about them. And that's what leaders do. They learn about their people and they talk to them, not just 6 months, not just once a year. It's ongoing. And that's also where, again, leaders are going to understand that each person within that and on their team has a mission. Or if they don't have a mission, help them define it. Where do you want these people to go? Again, let's level people up, not bring them down. They're part of a team. Nobody's more important than another. We all work together. Use the acronym of what team stands for, which is together everyone achieves more. It's my favorite acronym,
Mm.
right? And how can you work with everybody? They're all your partners. They're partners for something that you're all working together to raise up. Your team, when they work together, they raise up. I mean, we just watched the NCAA, right? So, I mean, my son's a big basketball player. I was watching, uh, and that to me is the ultimate. You see them work together. Not one person is the only thing that makes the winning team.
Mm.
They have to all work together. Some people are working to set the screens, other people are blocking. I mean, they have to work together. And a good coach is going to help see their team's strengths and know where they need to be, and he's going to coach them on the plays. And then you're going to practice. It's not basketball is not a one person sport. So same thing with teams within a company.
Mm. So are managers necessary?
I think managers are necessary, but managers need to become leaders. That's why I just said we need to change
It's
that
interesting.
word.
Really? So you don't think I've had managers who don't wanna be leaders, who just wanna do metrics. Is that the case across the board, do you feel? You want managers to become leaders? It's interesting.
Well, if a manager is there just to run the metrics, maybe they shouldn't be leading a team. I think the difference is whether they're in charge of a team or they're just running metrics.
Well, they're not leading a team, they're managing a team.
Right. So if they're, and what is that to me, that team that if they're managing it, you need to have a leader that's leading the team. If there's somebody but that, and to me, if they don't want to lead, if the person's in there, they just want to manage the day-to-day of everybody and they don't want to lead, then they should be doing the day-to-day, because people look to their manager as their leader.
Do they?
I think so.
Across the board, really?
I mean, I've worked in so many companies like, oh, he's the,
Mm,
and sometimes it's a title, right?
right.
So if the person does not want to manage people, they just want to manage tasks, then they should not be managing people. You need to have a leader leading people. If they, and it's very, I find it's very interesting. I've met with people
Hmm.
that say, I don't want to, like, I did that. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to come in and do my job. I don't want to have to deal with the personalities. I don't want to have to do that. Then great. Be the task person. But if you're going to have a group of people, I believe that, and you're going to be in charge of a group of people, you still need to lead them
Hmm.
because you're going to have to know the personalities.
Hmm. Are
And
leaders born? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
oh, no. I don't think leaders are born. I think leaders can be made. But it depends upon your desire.
Hmm.
Now, I don't think I don't think you come out of the womb being a born leader. I think that's something that is made based on things that you've done, things that you know, your actions and the things that you have done in your life can make you a good leader. It's one of the great, to bring back up sports, participating on a team, um, really helps people. Leaders will rise up. Somebody does. It's like a pack of dogs, right? Like you got a bunch of huskies, right? And you got, let's say 6 huskies. Yes, some of those will come out as just in by nature, they'll come out being the leader. They kind of define their roles, but it's also about how they were bred,
Hmm.
right? And what were they brought into and what did they do? So, how were you brought up? You know, not to, Tom Brady didn't come out of the womb being being the goat that he is, as a quarterback. It takes time and it takes practice and it takes learning. And I think good leadership takes learning too.
Hmm.
And we evolve. Yes, you may have some natural tendencies in there, but to be really good, it's what are you learning? What are you reading? How are you educating yourself? How are you participating in as a leader? Are you taking good constructive feedback and learning from it? We can always be better.
Hmm.
But you can say somebody's a natural born leader, mm, but we all know somebody's like, oh, they're just going to show up. Well, they had to learn something along the way. They didn't just arrive there. Their their experiences made them who they are.
And so now you've transitioned, Jacqueline, into coaching some of these people that want to make these transitions, that want to become better leaders, that want to make career changes, etc. How did you arrive at this place?
So for me, I realized, in my career, what I loved doing was leading people and helping them find their best self within their job, within what they were doing. And as I was leading teams, the biggest part that I kept gravitating to was coaching people to level up. So I put myself through school. and I went through IPEC, which is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, and just became a Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner. And there's some more things that I'm going to be taking along the way. But I put myself through coaching school. I mean, I had taken, like in a lot of professions, I had taken um, courses on coaching, but didn't receive any, proper accredited schooling. Uh, so I came to this knowing that I have made transitions myself. I'm really good at that. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how many times I was transitioning or I transitioned into a different career because I wanted to try something different, or I started a business, sold a business. So I know that I could help people transition because I've done it so well.
Hmm.
And I give things 100%. So it was like one of these like light bulbs that went off one day and it said, you know what? I really need to help other people grow and find their best self in their career and their life, their business, and just take that leap to their greatest success. And it didn't happen over this again, did not happen overnight. I was working in with a team, and I had basically reached the highest level that I could within the company. And I just thought I was wanting something more. So I actually was working with a coach, and we decided, we through lots of discussions, he said, you really need to be a coach.
Hmm.
You need to bring your superpower to other people because you really can help people. So I, I was like, okay, you know what? That's going to be my next transition. And I love it. I mean, I feel like I've been coaching people in my career for so long, and it's for me it was so nice to be able to say, you know what? That's what I've loved doing. This is what I have been doing. I've
Hmm.
been successful. Now I just need to do it for more people,
Hmm.
and not with a product or not within another company, but just helping people, as I say, become unstoppable.
And the difference between a coach and a therapist.
Difference, huge difference. A coach, well, a therapist, let me just say, a therapist is really going to look at your history, where you came from, like all the baggage, right? And help you kind of unpack that. A coach is going to give you is going to look at some of the things that are making you you and helping you, but really to help you get unstuck, find those blocks, help you change that frame of mind, and give you actionable items to move you forward. A
Hmm.
coach is there to help give you a plan. After every single session that I have with a client, there is some form of accountability.
Hmm.
What are you going to do to move you forward? I mean, I was in therapy for years about like my relationship with my dad, but I had no action items around it. It just helped me unpack those feelings and understand it better.
Hmm.
But as a coach, we're moving you forward. It's actionable items. We're looking at the inside so that you can take what's on the outside and push it forward.
I've often heard therapists go back, coaches go forward.
Mhm.
As you're coaching, there's got to be a certain point where you yourself need uplifting. Who coaches the coach? I mean, how do you work that out? How do you struggle with that? Exactly.
You have a coach. I
So you
have a
did
coach.
have a coach. Ah.
I, it's it's almost like the same thing. Therapists need therapists, coaches need coaches,
Yeah.
right? So because and I look at my coach as a way to help me level up. Like we're always learning, we're always moving, we're always creating action. So a coach needs a coach. And one of the things that I love is, people think about sports coaching and then there's business coaching, and sometimes people think, "Oh, are they?" Yes, there's lots of similarities. I do wanna help people know their numbers. I wanna help people know their metrics, but I also we do, I do this, assessment that is actually developed by IPAC. It's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, and it's attitudinal. It looks at your attitude on a day-to-day basis and then how you react under stress. And when we do this assessment, we really start to unpack how you're working and what your energy level is. Are you feeling super empowered, or are you feeling that you're retreating and you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm a victim, or you're creating, or this situation makes me angry. And why does that happen? And how can we create something for you that if that does happen, that you don't revert back into that victim mode or the anger mode or conflict? And how can we create situations where it's more of that we win, we're always winning together?
Hmm. I ask about the therapist and the difference because sometimes maybe the line's got to be blurred. I mean, when you're talking with somebody who wants to level up, go over, a lot of times they just dealing with confidence. They don't know if they have the confidence. And so, like, it must be difficult, well, challenging at least, to instill confidence in somebody, even those that are very well, that have traveled far in their career, but they still kind of need more boost. How do you work with somebody like that?
A lot of times what we're doing is we're helping them reframe their thoughts, right?
Mm,
And also helping them look back at times where they had that confidence, and what situation were they in, and how can they look at where they are and realize that they actually are confident.
hmm,
And it's working. A lot of times it's also helping people come up with ways that they can work on their mindset. Coaching is yes, there's a part where we're pulling into people's core thoughts and emotions, and how can we help them flip the switch and come up with a new belief?
hmm,
It doesn't happen overnight, right? Like, we don't wake up every morning. You don't wake up and just turn the switch on. But how can we start changing that belief, or finding where they're feeling that lack of confidence, and help them switch that mindset
hmm,
and become aware of it? Awareness is sometimes half the battle. So a lot of times I'll work with my clients on helping them, if they're all of a sudden feeling a lack of confidence, take a note. Take a voice note. Why are you feeling that way? Where did that come up with? So that when we're talking, we can say, okay, they get to see a pattern, and they're creating awareness around it, so that we can try to flip that switch.
hmm,
And it's interesting. I think that a lot of, I would tell you that I think that, you hear about great CEOs and people
hmm.
who are at the top of their game, and they still sometimes have that imposter syndrome,
Self-doubt, sure.
right? Self-doubt. So, we just, okay, so let's talk about that, and let's figure out, where is that coming from? And how do we flip that switch? And what are the actions that you're going to be taking today and tomorrow when that self-doubt creeps in? Because it
Mm.
might. So how do you what can you do? What's going to be the reminder to pivot on that? And there's a lot of different techniques. Some people can use centering, some people, can, I like to, have people journal or write something down or leave a voice note, record something for themselves so if they feel that they can play it back. Sometimes it might even just be changing your environment. Go listen to something that's going to be uplifting. Or maybe it's a quick reminder, like, I love the reminder note, like telling yourself something, when you have that. It's like, oh, you're going to get in your own head, but in a positive way.
Mm. So, Jacqueline, I started my small tech firm there in Connecticut in the 90s, and I was working way too hard. I'm sure you come into this. I was working, 14, 16-hour days and not paying attention to myself. A lot of late pizza and soda, and got myself up to 340 pounds. And the doctor said to me, if I don't lose weight, not you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My oldest was just born, so I spent the next 6 7 months, lost about 130 pounds. And when people ask me how, I always say discipline, right? I don't give it, it's no silver bullet, right? Discipline, focus, restraint, etc. I wonder how discipline plays a role in your life, Jacqueline Strominger.
Oh god, it's huge. Discipline and consistency are so important.
Consistency.
It is so you talk about health, right? And fitness. Um, yes, it's garbage in, garbage out,
Mm,
but it's garbage in, garbage out, not just with what we eat, but it's also what you put up here.
mm,
Like you have it really matters, right? So I will say, in my business, there is true consistency. Like, and you have to think of it. And I know this is maybe some people don't want to hear this, but business actually has to be kind of boring in
mm,
the sense of you're going to do certain things on Monday, you're going to do certain things on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have to create consistency and discipline in your actions, in your work, you know, so you can move the needle. If you're going to, if you want to work out and you want to lose weight, working out for 10 days is not going to drop the pounds.
mm,
The pounds didn't come on overnight, so they're not going to come off overnight. So, what are you going to be doing to be disciplined in your day, to exercise, to eat right? Where are the reminders that are going to be coming in? And it's the same thing in business. If you want to achieve discipline and consistency is so important.
mm.
Creating your plan. I'm a big pen to paper person. I
Me
know we've
too.
got all this great technology, but there is something about putting taking your pen, writing it down on paper. There's a
Mm,
bigger connection from your mind to the pen and to the paper that sinks in. So create your plan, create the consistency, and then have accountability because that's also and have a tribe that's supporting you. So
mm.
if you I guess the question I have is as you were on your weight loss journey, did you enlist like your family or your wife to say, "Hey, cheer me on," or "This is my goal," or did you do it yourself? Do they know what
It's
you wanted to do?
in almost every other aspect of my life, I do that. But with the weight loss, Jacqueline was like, I put myself here, damn it, and I'm going to take myself out. I'm not letting anybody know. I wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym at 5:30, 7 days a week, so people would my family would not really notice because when I came back, they were getting up. But I didn't in that particular case. I didn't. But in almost every other thing, I do want accountability.
Yep.
But I was so frustrated with myself that I got myself there that I said, darn it, I'm going to do it myself.
Yep.
So it's kind of the exception.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question. When you got to the gym, who was there?
Yeah, sure. There was others there. Right.
Right? And
Yeah.
so if you didn't show up, did they
That's a
say
good point.
did
That's a
they
good
say
point.
something to you?
I always did. So I can imagine if I didn't, they might say, where were you? Yeah. Yeah.
So it may have started that way, but yeah, but so someone's going to say to you, like
That's a
if
good
you're
point.
showing up all the time and you're there, someone's going to be like, "Hey, what happened to you? Where have you been?"
Mm,
You may not have realized it that they were holding you accountable, but there's sort of like some subliminal thing that says in your mind, "Okay, well if I don't show up, those people that they're seeing me there every day, they're not going to see me. They're going to know. I'm going to know too, but they're going to know also."
mm,
The gym's going to know. The gym's holding me accountable because I've paid for it. Now I gotta go.
mm,
May not be as hit over your head accountable,
mm.
but if your family also knew you were getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going to the gym, on a morning that you didn't, somebody might say, "Hey, why didn't you get up this
What
morning?
happened? Yeah.
What happened?"
Accountability is even in my business. I know when I joined a peer group and I had somebody oftentimes I'm sure you're working with solopreneurs or small businesses, nobody's holding them accountable. So when I joined a peer group, I felt like I was on an island, and now you have these peers that are doing that. Wonderful way to grow.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I have a great group. It's Unstoppable Achievers, and it is a tribe of people. And we actually do it's group coaching once a month. Sorry, once a week, where we all get on a call, and then every month they have an individual call with me. But it is accountability. It's focusing on their goals. Um, it's a great group because everybody, I believe, and I can't remember what I was listening to or watching the other day that somebody also just said this. It's like when you're working and you have a tribe of people behind you, it does help you
Yeah.
level up. It's hard to be that solopreneur, which is why, having or being part of a tribe is really important because they are going to somebody there has your back too.
Because
We don't
they
need
know you have theirs.
yeah, right. And it's great to not have to go it alone.
Mm. What motivates you, Jacqueline?
My family and the fact that I've got two kids that are going off to college.
Empty nest right around the corner.
But it's also myself. It's a level of, I get to kind of wake up in the morning and I say, like, who can I help today?
Mm.
You know, who, and for me, it's also because I know for when I was in those years in magazine publishing and even beyond that, when I started other businesses, I wish I had a me. And so I want to be able to help people find me so that they can have what I didn't have.
Mm. Hmm. So, given that, how do you measure success?
For me personally, I measure success a couple different ways. One is how many people have I helped?
Mm.
People I helped
Impact.
in this week, my impact. Um, I know this may sound kind of odd, but like, what's my energy? Like, if I'm waking up in the morning and I am not like, uh, when I get to help people, my energy is up.
Mm.
So it's almost like it fills my cup. So if I haven't been helping enough people or making an impact, the my cup starts to the energy in my
Mm.
cup, starts to go down. So that's why how I look at my success for me. It's impact. I want to be helping people. The worst feeling, because I had it, the worst feeling is that pit in your stomach when you're going to work and you're thinking there's got to be something more, or
Mm.
I'm not being recognized, or I don't feel valued, or that you're involved in a toxic environment and you've got that, you just want to like put the covers over your head and not get out of bed, or you're getting into work and you're just not excited about being there.
Mm.
Like, to me, nobody should ever have that, ever.
Mm.
And if you do, call me. Like,
Mm.
we need to shift because life's too short. Life is way too short. And if I can help somebody grow their business, like, I love helping people have that the growth that they want to grow their business or their career, so that they can have, like, go up on the stairs and be like, I'm the champion. I like have that champion feeling, whether they're standing on the stairs like Rocky or not. Like, that's like the best feeling.
And even if you played the smallest role in that success, be it 1% or 99%, it's so rewarding.
Oh God, it's so rewarding. I one of somebody said this. One of my team members said this to me, as and this was like, I'm like, I just was such a hit me over the head. Um, she said to me, Jacqueline, you're the first person that's believed in me.
Mm.
And that
Hmm.
was like, it hit me in the gut because I felt like, I'm so glad that I can do this and believe in her. But everybody needs to believe in themselves and have other people believe in them.
Hmm.
And if I can do that for somebody, oh my God, then it's just like, my cup just got filled.
Hmm. I sure did. Jacqueline, I was so excited when we set this up. You're so great to talk to. Your energy is incredible. I love what you're doing. Anybody listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website, leaptoyoursuccess.com, and fill out the contact form and message me. I love having um, strategy sessions with people. I do a complimentary strategy session. So ask me for that strategy session. Please take me up on that. But you can also find me on social. So on Facebook, I'm at my name, Jaclyn Strominger, on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn at Jaclyn Strominger and on Instagram at Jaclyn.Strominger. Find me, connect with me. And if you want, join my Facebook group. It's Unstoppable Achievers, the 1% Edge. It's a free group.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If I'm in your area of the country, perhaps we'll get together, have a cup of tea. Thanks so much for your time today.
No, thank you, Joey. And if I'm on the other coast,
Ah,
I'll be knocking on your door.
sounds good. You be well.
Thank you.
Bye now. Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.